over 3 decades in the music industry, well over 24 million records sold, Grammy nominated, 1 billion streams, several number one singles such as Glycerin and Machine Head, we're talking about Bush. And Bush is kicking off their tour right here in Bend at Hayden Homes Amphitheater Friday, July 26th. With me now, I feel so fortunate, the one and only Gavin Rossdale. Gavin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're feeling pretty fortunate that you are kicking off your tour right here in Central Oregon and not just any tour, Loaded the Greatest Hits tour. So thanks for coming.
I think I'm rehearsing there as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Even more reason to be grateful. So, how does it feel to reflect on the success of Bush and starting this tour?
It's just the wildest thing about music is you don't really know who's listening to it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like often a silent exchange or unknown exchange rather. You know, you play the song. So the celebration we've been able to have with all these people for all these years of connection, all these years of memories and meaning something to people has just been incredible. And to get the chance to put it all together, and I'm always obsessed about the future and writing new songs and that stuff like that. But it's what a time, what a thing to celebrate, you know. And sometimes in my life I haven't celebrated enough.
I think that's pretty neat. And also, I have to mention the tour coincides with an album that you released, the Greatest Hits album. And at the very end of the album, you have a song called Nowhere to Go But Everywhere, and it's brand new.
Looking back on all the records, the evolution of the band and the style of the band, it's gotten quite a bit heavier. And so I didn't want to make the song too heavy and I didn't want to make it too standard. So I had to find somewhere in between. And I just started messing around with that song. There were just a few chords. And what was weird about it is that there's this one song by Queen, and it's the most beautiful song called Days of Our Lives. And something about that it had a melancholia about it that always affected me. I know every Queen song. It's not like I'm the biggest Queen fan. I just love them. You know, it's incredible, incredible band. But that one song really resonated with me. And when I say it, just the feeling of it. And when I wrote that song, and I sang about my friends in there and impermanence, and like we were so much younger then. It just sort of spoke to a time of reflection, and not a sadness, because that's okay that time moves on, you know, that's just normal thing. But there's a melancholia to it of like making sure that you're keeping the close ones to you close, and think about the people that you've lost and sort of the passage of time and the kind of rust that it leaves on you, you know. But yet we get through it, you know. It's a beautiful thing to survive and to flourish. And so that song has that feeling of appreciation for the years, I think, you know. So that's how I see it. Once I've written it, it goes out. Even by the time it gets to the band in the studio and they play on it, you know, it starts to shift and become everyone else's song, you know. But that's how it began.
Now, with that, is there anything, that you would tell your younger self or even the band, knowing what you know now?
Of course, loads, you know. That lovely cliche, the youth is wasted on the young. But I have so much to be grateful for and focus on that all I would do for myself in a younger time is just be words of encouragement, you know. There was lots of, especially from where I'm from, encouragement was not big, not high on the agenda, you know, like we live in a world now, I do it myself, amazing, you know, the kids like, you're fantastic. That's not how I grew up, you know. Like, you're nothing, you're worthless, and if you make a sound, make it a good one, you know. And I think that that's just a different time. I would never have my kids go through the kind of stuff that I went through. I just wouldn't allow it. But yeah, I know that's exactly what made me, exactly what gave me like a resilience and a sort of nerves of steel and sort of tenacity. Like, I'm half Scottish, you know, McGregor, as Gavin McGregor. So I'm like a Scottish drunk or something. You know, you're gonna kill me because I was gonna keep getting back up and just fighting way through. And so yeah, or I would probably it'd be nicer to have some encouragement, but not if you subscribe to some ideas that if you're too mollycoddle, if you're mollycoddle and too encouraged, maybe you lose an edge. You know, it's hard to have an edge when everyone's told you you're amazing from the get-go. Much better to tell you you're terrible and you can't sing and why are you doing this? You know, much more fodder for an artist than sort of encouragement. You know, nobody wants a record about this is when I was encouraged the most. Nobody wants that. I don't think they probably they could. I could be playing stadiums if I did words of encouragement. I always have very positive messages in my songs, so you know they're very. I try to write as honestly as possible and as sort of basically different different complaints that I have, and then the verses, this the journey to the complaint, sort of like um, kaleidoscope of my imagination and just scenarios and people and situations. And I come from that school of loving the beat poets and sort of more stream of conscious than particular stories. Like Zach Bryan, my son was playing me the new record and some wonderful, really great stories. And I've just always been horrible at stories. I once wrote a story song, and I just was just not like I love Tom Waits. Tom Waits is like my guru, but I just can't get into that. I like stream of conscious, lots of thoughts, kaleidoscopic thoughts, shards of imagination, sort of love and betrayal and angst and destroying the world and personal politics. Those are the kind of things that really are more interesting to me. For me, I would just run out of those characters, but it's an interesting approach. I don't know why I'm particularly talking about character writing songs, but it's funny because it's just not what I do. So to my younger self, because people used to criticize me for that, is why I'm saying that. I get criticized for that. Oh, the songs don't make sense. They work together. It's like I don't know. It's just things are meant to make sense for you. People feel a kinship. It's a sound. It's a feeling. It's not just the words, but the words are important. And I think that's one thing that's kept us consistent or kept us with an audience, I think, is the fact that the same person writing the words has remained, and so there's always a sense of, I hope, a particular slant on things. I mean, words are really important to me.
Now, what about the method to the set list for the show? Because just like you're saying, I mean, we're talking 3 decades here, fans of all spectrum, and
Yeah.
that's probably got to be some high pressure to choose a set list out of all of your great hits, and also kind of the method of it as far as kicking it off to the middle of it. There has to be a theory, and what is the theory that Bush goes with?
It begins with, for me, I've always taken a lot of pride in writing the set list. I get a lot of input and collab with the band, but sometimes they can't be bothered. So it's always good. I've always been the one to, I've always found it's easier to correct an idea than it is to start an idea. You know what I mean? And so I just put a set list forward and then let the committee of my band, Nick, the drummer, he doesn't really care. Corey's, usually agrees with what I agree with. I suggest, and Chris always has a good point about something that I may have forgotten. We, I think that we're all trying to avoid that. You don't want to be boring. I don't want 40 minutes in, people going to the bar. I want a reason to know. And I'm always intrigued by that. What is it it used to be, oh, they're playing a new song, but then we got new songs that are being #1 records and they're really engaging. So it's like, oh, you don't want to miss the new bit because you know the other bit. So I want that. I want people to have a dilemma where they just can't leave. And so what we do is do it often from a tempo point of view. So how it starts and how it envelops you, and then the ride it takes you on. It can't drop you off too soon, but 3 or 4 or 5 songs in, you need to get dropped off soon, otherwise there's a barrage and there's no dynamic. So drop off. And I've taken a few liberties with a couple of song arrangements to just approach a couple of songs in different ways, touch on everything, and then what we have is like interchangeable parts. So we plot the set list, and then you may have 3 or 4 songs that could go in that one slot. You couldn't change Machine Head for Glycerine. That makes no sense because you have to change like for like. So we basically have a set list, and then there's a alternates for B and C. And you could alternate 5 songs, or you could alternate 3 songs, and that's for us to sort of arm wrestle the next day and discuss what we do. And it also depends if somebody's under the weather or sick. It happens on tour. People kind of get sick. You're not going to change anything. Make their life easy. I make your life easy. If everyone's raring to go, we've had great shows. We also may keep it the same. If the show the night before someone didn't feel something, we're going to change it. So we just to sort of try and keep as fluid as possible and go with the moment. But yeah, that's it. That's my answer. That's all I got on that one.
I had a feeling there was a method.
You hear, I mean, it's very impressive, Metallica doing 2 whole different set lists. I think that might be easy if you have similar tempos. I don't know if they do, but I imagine, it's a metal tempo, right? So when you keep it a certain tempo,
Yeah.
those crowds do the same thing. So often with metal bands, the tempos don't shift too much. Maybe they go really fast. Obviously, Metallica go really fast, and then a couple of times they go to ballads. They have brilliant ballads, of course. Then it changes, but generally, so with us, sometimes I got to just think about that. Also, I've got the added problem of some of the set is heavier than the other. Some of the approaches on the music. So if I'm playing Art of Survival stuff, I'm not gonna have too many in a row and then like pop in something that's going to sound too light with it. So there has to be mindful to the sort of the effect it has on people.
Now, what is something about performing live on stage that just never gets old?
The applause.
Good. I bet from beginning, middle, end, every part of it.
Yeah, it's like, thank you. I make jokes when I come home to my kids, that I really would appreciate at least some applause to dinner arriving. You guys, there were
Yes.
30,000 people saying I'm great last night. What's up? I need more than a thank you here.
Yes, all parents should get applause, that's for sure.
It's so great if everything we did got standing ovation.
Well, Gavin, I thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. We are so lucky to have you kicking off this tour, Bush. My goodness, the greatest hits tour. This is a really big deal, and we're stoked to have you back at Homes Amphitheater kicking off this tour in Bend, July 26th. It'll be a wonderfully warm, beautiful night, I can just tell.
When is that? When is that next week? What night is it? Next week? Wednesday, Thursday?
Yep, Friday next week. Yeah, so a week from tomorrow.
Okay. All righty, great. Look forward to it. Can't wait.